One of the hardest parts of job searching is that you never really know who else is in the process. Another candidate may have more experience. Someone may come from the exact industry the company prefers. An internal candidate may appear halfway through the process. Trying to compete with all of them is impossible. More importantly, it may be the wrong competition. Your real challenge is to understand what the employer is actually trying to solve, and make the evidence that you can solve it easy to see. Five years of experience, management background, specific technology, industry knowledge. But two candidates can satisfy the same requirements while representing very different solutions to an employer. Research on person-job fit supports the importance of alignment between an individual's knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the demands of a particular role. A major meta-analysis covering 172 studies found relationships between different forms of fit and outcomes, including hiring intentions and job offers. Christoph Braun, Zimmerman, and Johnson, 2005. So the important question isn't simply, do I meet the requirements? It is, which of these requirements actually matter most? The benchmark can move. We tend to imagine recruitment as a fixed competition. A company defines what it wants. Candidates enter the process and everyone is measured against the same standard. Real hiring isn't always that clean.
Interviewers learn while meeting candidates. A candidate may introduce experience the company hadn't considered important. Internal discussions can change priorities. The business itself may change while recruitment is underway.
Research also suggests that candidate evaluations can be influenced by context. Studies of the contrast effect in selection interviews have found that evaluations of candidates can be affected by the candidates assessed around them. Kopelman, 1975, Cesare, D'Alessio, and Tannenbaum, 1988. That doesn't mean another candidate automatically determines your outcome. It does mean that hiring decisions don't necessarily happen in isolation. The benchmark you imagined when you applied may not be exactly the benchmark being used when the final decision is made. Stop trying to guess who you're competing against. Job seekers often spend energy on questions they cannot answer. How many people applied? Is there an internal candidate? Does somebody else have more experience? Did another candidate come through a referral? Even if you knew the answers, there often wouldn't be much you could do with them. A more useful question is, what will make this company choose one qualified candidate over another? That shifts the focus from an invisible competitor to something you can actually investigate. Look beyond the job description. A job description is useful, but not every bullet necessarily carries the same weight. Look for repetition. Which capabilities appear throughout the description? What outcomes does the role own? What appears particularly difficult about the job? Then listen during the recruitment process. If several interviewers repeatedly return to stakeholder management, that tells you something. If the job description emphasizes strategy, but most of the conversation revolves around execution, that tells you something too. Networking can provide additional information. Research has found relationships between networking behavior and job search outcomes. Although the effectiveness depends on factors such as network characteristics and how networking is used. Van Hoy, Van Hooft and Levens, 2009. The value of a professional connection, therefore, isn't necessarily just getting a referral. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can get is better information about what the organization actually needs. You don't need a complicated framework for every application. For opportunities that genuinely matter to you, ask yourself, what are the 3 things this employer is most likely to use when choosing between qualified candidates? Then look at your resume, LinkedIn profile, and interview examples. Can they easily find evidence for those 3 things? And as you learn more during the process, ask the question again. Your answer may change. That's the point. This is also why my work with job seekers goes beyond rewriting a resume or optimizing a LinkedIn profile. We look at positioning, target roles, previous search activity, and how the candidate's experience is being communicated. From there, We identify where stronger positioning, networking, LinkedIn, resume work, or interview preparation can make the biggest difference. The objective isn't to manufacture a candidate who looks better than everybody else. It's to make the relevant value already there, clearer, more focused, and easier for the right employer to recognize. There will always be another candidate. Someone may have more experience. Someone may know the industry better. Someone may even introduce a capability the employer hadn't originally considered important. You cannot control who enters the process, but you can get better at understanding what the employer is actually looking for. So instead of asking, "How do I beat the other candidates?" try asking, "What is this employer really choosing between?" The second question won't eliminate competition, but it gives you something useful to work with. References: Cesare, S.J., D'Alessio A. and Tannenbaum, R.J., 1988. Contrast Effects for Black, White, Male, and Female Interviewees. Journal of Applied Social Psychology, 1815, 1261-1273. Kopelman, M.D., 1975. The Contrast Effect in the Selection Interview. British Journal of Educational Psychology, 45-3, 333-336. Christoph Brown, A.L., Zimmerman, R.D., and Johnson, E.C., 2005. Consequences of Individuals' Fit at Work. A meta-analysis of person-job, person-organization, person-group, and person-supervisor fit. Personnel Psychology, 58-2, 281-342. Van Hoy, G., Van Hooft, E. A. J., and Levens, F. 2009. Networking as a Job Search Behavior, a Social Network Perspective. Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology, 82-3, 661-682.